All right. So remember that in the beginning of the course we talked about this idea of factions. So Fed 10 is where James Madison spends a lot of time talking about that notion of factions and the problem of what factions might be. V, do you remember what a faction is? No?
I'm sorry, like completely blank.
That's okay. Nicole's shaking her head really hard, so I bet she's going to help you. What's a faction?
That has like similar interests in common. Oh, so like interesting?
Well, it's a good. Let's not think about modern politics right now.
Okay.
It's a faction is just a group of people that are united because they have that same kind of passion. They have the same kind of purpose. They have the same objectives. We are all members of factions. The concern that our framers had was that this idea that sometimes when people join together in those groups, they behave in a way that might be destructive to the whole because they kind of only think about their group. So in Fed 10, Madison goes through and he kind of talks about, well, what might we do? And so he actually goes through like some different options. He says, well, one thing you could do is you could just remove the cause of faction. You could make it so that people won't associate with other people who are like them. So think about that for a second. You're going to say that you can't join together with other people who are like them. So that makes you make a face. Why?
Well, because it's not possible.
Why is that not possible?
Because humans have the natural tendency to group together when we're alike.
We do. And our framers, while they were fearful of this, they possess a belief in natural rights. So, like, that would kind of seem contrary to that. But he goes through and he talks about it. And he says, well, one way you could do that is you could just destroy liberty. If you just make sure that people have no freedom at all, then you will tell them what to do, where to go, what to be. Well, obviously that wouldn't have been an option. The other thing he says is, well, you could just make sure everybody has the same idea. If all people have the same kind of idea about the purpose of government, what should happen, religion, whatever it is, then there's no need to group into factions because everybody thinks the same thing. How would you do that? How would you make sure that all people have the same idea? Gunpoint, like extreme kind of like command type government, right? All right.
Yeah, like that extreme like military where like you completely control them from like birth to like death and like
Right. Right. Okay, so even then Madison realized that wasn't going to be an option. So then he says, well, the other thing we can do is we can realize that factions will happen, and we can simply create a government that's going to control for their effects. So we can't control what people do, but we can control for the effects of people gathering together in groups. So in their mind, there were basically two ways we could organize our government. We could form a pure democracy, or we could form an extended republic. So pure democracy means direct democracy. Everybody gets to have a voice. Everybody gets control that is recognized as a voter, and they get to help contribute in all those decisions. In Fed 10, he says that pure democracy is actually going to contribute to faction and make it worse. Josh, why do you think he might say, why would democracy make factions worse, do you think? They could be more radical. Okay, that's possible. Why could they be more radical?
Because, like, I don't know, like the extreme party, like they're gonna oppose each other, so they're gonna try to push like the extremes together or push forward.
Okay, to make their voices heard. That makes sense. You have any thoughts, Jake?
Josh.
Well, very good. Does anybody have any other thoughts? Not that that's wrong. Jacob.
The biggest faction would usually win because they have the most people in it.
Right. And so then it becomes whoever's like more powerful, who's louder, maybe who can use fear to motivate people to join their faction, who can use, kind of like whatever kind of tactics. So it's hard to protect everybody's rights and to protect the minority if you've got a situation like that, because it might not be that every faction ends up having equal power. So then they said, well, what if we create this? We create this large republic where people are going to be allowed to make decisions and choose their representatives. The idea is that the representative is supposed to think about the group and represent the group, but he calls them noble citizens. They are supposed to be thinking about a broader perspective than just what you and I think about. Now, what if this person in the republic is not a noble citizen, and what if they do a really bad job? We might be able to kick them out, or we might not vote for them again. So the thing is that it's based on an election system. If it's a republic, we get to choose them. And so he said, while faction is going to happen, If you have a system like that, that should control for the problems of factions, right? So, let's try to think about this in relationship to today. Why don't you guys take about like 5 minutes? I'm going to leave this model up there, and I want you to try to think of some real-life examples of maybe how you see this happening. And was Madison correct? Would a large extended republic, does that control for the evils and the problems of factions? So I'll just talk about it for about 5 minutes, and we'll see what you can come up with.